Supply and demand is the best trading strategy in the market in my opinion, but a lot of people are getting it wrong. So in this video, I want to give you the secret sauce to supply and demand trading. But before you watch this video, make sure you go onto my channel and watch the complete guide to supply and demand trading first, then return to this video. Trust me, that will help you so much more. For those of you soy boys who are wondering why does my voice sound weird today, it's because I just
hit puberty. I'm actually 13 years old.
Nah, I'm just playing with you. I am having like a sore throat right now and I do not want to make this video. I'm sick right now, but I'm still making this video for you boys out there and girls, and girls. The first secret is that you need to follow the trend with supply and demand. A lot of people think that when you are trading supply and demand, you must trade against the trend, but that is just not true. We all heard this same quote before. The trend is your friend, and I 100% agree with that. Look at this example right here. We can clearly see that it's in a downtrend. Price is just going down, and in this case, we should only be looking to sell. So since we are looking to sell, we should be looking for the supply zones. So in this case, I will mark up all my supply zones, which is there's one right here, another one right here. Alright, so these are my supply zones that I'm looking for. So right now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to wait for price to get back up to this supply zone, and then I'm gonna sell it down. That is what I mean when I say that you should trade with the trend when you are trading supply and demand. So in the downtrend just like this, you should be looking for supply zones. You should be trading supply zones, not demand zones, if you want to get like higher win rate. So as you can see, price eventually went back up to this supply zone that we have drawn right here earlier, and then you can see price just toppled back down. So in this scenario, you could have entered for a sell right here when price has came back up to this supply zone, instead of like entering buy randomly like somewhere around here, because that is just like trading against the trend. That is just stupid. Here's another example in an uptrend. So in an uptrend, you should only be looking to buy. So in this case, we are only looking for demand zones, right? So all of this you can see right here. This is a demand zone, and demand zone. So whenever price gets down to this area, I am just looking to buy. As simple as that. There is no need to complicate things. In a downtrend, look for supply zones. In an uptrend, look for demand zones. What about when price is going sideways and it's just like in a consolidation? In this scenario, you can trade both supply and demand. So when price reaches a supply zone just like this, you can look to enter for a sell. When price at a demand zone, you should be looking to buy. Just as simple as that, right? So those are like the three types of trend that you can follow with supply and demand. So make sure when you are trading with supply and demand, follow the trend rather than against it. I want you guys to remember this one fundamental concept. Trading with the trend will always be better than trading against the trend. Do not fight the trend. Don't play with fire, or else you will get burned. The second secret is that some supply and demand zones will not hold. You must understand that not every single supply and demand zone will hold. A lot of you think that supply and demand zones are the holy grail in the market that will work every single time. Oh, but you just say that is the best trading strategy in the market. The truth is, just like support and resistance, a lot of supply and demand zones will not hold. Look at this example right here. So you can see that right here, we can identify a demand zone at this area, right? But you can see as time passes, it eventually broke out of the strong demand zone that we have drawn. So that means that, like I said, demand zones, they will not hold forever, alright? I want to be unfiltered and tell you a very, very important concept that you must understand when trading. Trading is all about probabilities. Yes, there is a higher chance that price will reverse at the strong supply and demand zones, but it is not guaranteed. And a lot of brokies will think that all of these zones work every single time and they will hold every time. So they immediately enter for a buy at a demand zone. And that is a huge mistake, which will cause you to lose a lot of money. So bear in mind with the fact that trading is all about probabilities. The third secret is do not trade every single zone. When you see a blank chart just like this, most newbies, most brokies, they will try to draw every single supply and demand zone they can see under the chart. So this is what it usually looks like. Oh my god, there is a supply zone right here, and then there is another supply zone right here, and then there's a demand zone right here, and blah 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 blah. And look at this, your charts will end up looking like this. Messy, confusing, and you lose money. And the thing is, out of all these zones that I draw, only some of them actually work. I want you to remember that the market is cyclical. There will be times where supply zones are much stronger than demand zones and vice versa. So in this example, price is in a downtrend where supply zones are gonna be stronger than demand zones, right? So in a downtrend, you should only be focusing on drawing these supply zones, which are much stronger than demand zones. And then in an uptrend just like this, where we know that demand zones are gonna be stronger than supply zones, you should only be focusing on drawing your demand zones. So F the supply zones, focus on drawing the demand zones in this scenario. So remember, you only want to be trading the strong zones that is aligned with the overall trend direction, because that will give you a higher probability trade. There is a higher chance that the trade will go as planned if you trade strong zones that is aligned with the overall trend direction. The fourth secret is to take profit at supply and demand zones. Why do we use supply and demand zones? Because we know that that is when the big boys, the billionaire traders are entering the market, and that will tell you where the market is going. Is it going to be pushed down or is it going to be pushed up? So in this example, we can see that price has just rejected this supply zone earlier, and it is now heading to the next demand zone. And we know that price will go all the way down to the next demand zone if there is no support levels nearby that will stop price here. So if there is no support levels or demand zones around this area here, price will literally just go all the way down to the next demand zone. So in this case, if you enter for a sell here, it is a no-brainer to take profit at the next demand zone, because we know that when price eventually reaches the demand zone, price will start going back up because there is buyers, there is demand at this area, that the big boys are buying at this area. So we should exit out of our position, out of our sell position at this demand zone. So if you enter for a sell here, just take profit here, as simple as that. So in this example, price has got pushed all the way up here, but it has came back down to retest this demand zone. So let's say that I will enter for a buy like right here after price has came back down to this demand zone, right, to retest it. So in this case, my take profit will be at the supply zone that price has just rejected earlier, which is this zone right here. Because once again, we know that at this supply zone, there is going to be sellers that is going to try to push the price down. So that is where I want to exit out of my sell position. So once again, let me explain it. If you enter for a buy right here at this demand zone, your take profit should be at the next supply zone, which in this case is right here. And you can see price pretty much just went all the way up to hit our take profit. So when price at this supply zone and you are looking to sell, let's say right here, your take profit should be at the next demand zone. Okay, so right here, basically the whole gist of it is that if you are selling at a supply zone, take profit at the demand zone. And if you are buying at a demand zone, take profit at the next supply zone. As simple as that. The fifth secret is that supply zone does not always become demand zone and vice versa. So in this case, let's say that we have drawn out our supply zone, and you can see price is just consolidating at this supply zone, right? But then when price eventually break out of this supply zone, right, this supply zone does not automatically become demand zone, because price can always still come back down, and this can be like a little fake outs, right? So that is what I mean when I say that supply zone does not always become demand zone after it break out, right? Sometimes what price can do is that price can come back down to retest this supply zone, and it now act as your demand zone that is going to push the price up. and it will look something like this, right? Remember, supply zone does not always have to become demand zone after it has broken. It always depends on what the scenario is. Let me give you another example using demand zone this time round. So you can see right now, this is your demand zone, and let's say that price has just been consolidating at this area, not breaking past this demand zone, because this is a very strong demand zone. But eventually, some sellers are gonna come in, which is your supply, right? Some big boys are gonna come in to push the price all the way down, breaking this strong demand zone that is formed, that price failed to break past multiple times, 1, 2, 3, right? So remember, at this demand zone, there is people that is buying, all right? At this demand zone, there is buyers sitting at this area and they are buying. So when price break out of this demand zone, what are the buyers thinking? They are probably like so scared because they are losing money, right? They are buying right here, right? Let's say they are buying right here. And then right now, price is all the way down here. So they are in red, they are in drawdown, and they are losing money. In this case, when price eventually come back up to retest this demand zone again before going back down even further like this, these buyers that are sitting over here who have bought at this price, they are gonna be exiting and getting out of their buy position right here. And when they get out of their buy position right here, what happens? The sellers is gonna start to overpower the buyers, and that cause price to push down even further. Because remember, the buyers right here, people who bought right here, they are getting out of the position. And what are the sellers thinking? The sellers want to get in on the retest, right? So they want to enter for a sell right here. So this causes a little like supply, right? Which caused price to be pushed all the way down, because now there is more sellers than buyers in this market. So that is what's gonna happen, and price will just shoot all the way back down, right? So this is what we call the break and retest, and this is like a little bit of the psychology, the sentiments analysis behind this break and retest strategy. So right now, this demand zone has become our supply zone. So in this case, the demand zone has become your supply zone. But remember, it's not every time, right? Sometimes price can easily just like do this and just like continue to go back up. So in this case, this demand zone still hold, and it is not a supply zone. Remember, every instrument has different participants, and they will react differently to supply and demand zones. That is literally the secret sauce that I want to give you if you are still watching this video. That is a very, very important point. So let me repeat myself. Every instrument has different participants, and they will react differently to the supply and demand zones. So make sure you note that down. So what I mean by that is that these supply and demand zones, they work differently for crypto or for stocks or for forex, right? The concept is the same, right? But the participants are different, and they will react differently to these like supply and demand zones. Lastly, I just thought of this hidden secret. The hidden secret is that you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel, man. You need to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because I'm giving a lot more free information just like this to you for absolutely free, and these are very, very important concepts of trading that you must know to become a profitable trader. So that is like the biggest secret that you can do for yourself just by hitting that subscribe button. Welcome to the tribe. And if you want to learn more about supply and demand trading, make sure you click on this video right here and find out more. Watch this video next, and remember, you're just one trade away. Mwah.